Hi, welcome back to my channel. Just posted a video about spirituality and I was like, now I've got the camera out, it's here to stay, and like let's do another video, because that's what I used to do. I used to like chain make them and then like just post them like straight after each other when I had like a bout of kind of inspiration. So that's what we're gonna do. Trying to fix my fringe here. There we go. We don't want it to look too sort of parted, if you know what I mean, a bit of a fringe going on, what's going on. And I thought a fun topic to discuss would be what you want out of life and figuring out what you want out of life, because I often jump between, and I think it is a jump between kind of situation in my experience in life, of repositioning what you focus on and what you want, and learning from your mistakes, but also to partially rely. I think I'm quite an externalizing mindset kind of person. Like I'll look at the world like, oh, this happened because it had to, this situation happened because it had to, this like life experience happened because it had to, and like it'll be for the good in the end and stuff like that. And you know, if this wouldn't have happened, this wouldn't have happened. That's an externalized kind of mindset. But I think you also have to look at, like, some people believe very much in manifestation. Like I've never really properly done it, but I can see that it would happen, especially just from a sense of figuring out. I definitely believe in like figuring out what you want internally, what desires God has given you, and also what desires you have if you want to look at it from that God has given you or not, and figure out like what it is, sometimes often what you don't want, and actually just figure out ways to find that path. And I want to do more videos based around that, because I want to be like inspiration-y to people, because I definitely find that about people. Just sometimes when I see people's videos and they're like so like look at my life, kind of like day in the life, sort of like, not like look at my life, but like day in the life, and you think, yes, your energy is just like so goals. Do you know what I mean? Like not in like an Instagram-y kind of way, but like just like YouTubers that are like just doing their jobs and they're just like talking about relationships and chit chats and blah blah blah, and you just think, yes, that is the way. You know, you have to choose your own you know path, because obviously what one person wants another person doesn't. But I think it also comes into like, what I'm saying is like, you're not going to get positives without negatives. And I think you're a glass half full or a glass half empty kind of person. I'm a glass half full kind of person. So as much as I recognise the contrasts of life and that you're going to go through negative periods as well as positive periods, and you're going to have negative things within positive experiences, it's also like I feel like you're either a half glass, you're a half empty or half full person. I'm a half full person. I've also been looking at my palm recently to try and figure out what my palm tells me about my life path and things, and I have got an app, and I don't like it because what it says on the app is different in part from what I can see on there. So that kind of annoys me, but overall part of it was right about my but it did say I was going to live till like late 80s, so that's good news, and stuff like that. It also thinks I'm going to get married very soon, so fingers crossed, you know, not to the wrong person, but you know. So I don't know whether that's true or not. I haven't had to go to a person in real life, but whether you use that sort of stuff to guide you in your life path, I don't know. But it's also like figuring out, like, from a practical level, like what you actually are accustomed to, what you want, what you may have been brought up with. I think what your body actually is accustomed to doing, because I think some people, like for example in the horoscopes and stuff, I have done a New Age Jesus video, I wouldn't take horoscopes too lightly, but you know, that's my disclaimer. But like it talks about people, like some people like a 9 to 5, some people like doing 14-hour shifts 10 days in a row and they're not working for 6 months. Do you know what I mean? Or something of the like, and it's about what you're actually accustomed to, because I think certain things in the world and the way certain processes work, it depends where you are, but they definitely are accustomed to 9 to 5, and it doesn't always work for everyone. It isn't always healthy for everyone because of your physiology, and I definitely think sometimes some people are accustomed to certain things much better than others. And I think sometimes when you fit the standard and the norm of 9 to 5, you are really easy to judge people that don't fit that norm very easily because of various reasons and factors, and they might work night shifts or whatever that works for them better, and it's really unhealthy because they end up being ignorant, and at the end of the day karma comes around to smack everyone. So anyway, and really kind of project their own shortcomings upon them and expect them to not succeed, and that really is very sad. But also I think a big part of your like life path is your soul tribe. Whether you want to think about soul tribe, friendships, relationships that are good for you, because I don't know, it's a discussion really. Do people come into your life that are supposed to be in your life? Do you have past lives with them? Do you not have past lives with them? Do people come into your life? I think it's really interesting as well, like karmic relationships. Like, do people, these are very spirituality terms, but people that like teach you lessons, like it's interesting to reflect on those and how like you wouldn't be the person that you are if you hadn't come across that. Because what I'm seeing so much recently is that when certain people come into my life to try and teach me something, the thing they're trying to teach me actually ends up being a reason that I spiral in the complete opposite direction. And that is very interesting, because I think sometimes when you feed something so much to someone, you tend to naturally spring the opposite direction. And I think you can do that in a contained way, to the point where you're like, you kind of believe in two things and you sort of bounce between the two. Or I think it can really be like major life beliefs and stuff that can really like form through experiences that you have, that really make you see things about things that you might not have known before, or you might not have previously been there for, if you know what I mean. So you learn through contrast at the end of the day. But that is really interesting, and I think because it's like sometimes just like the way, like reverse psychology in certain cases. I think people naturally, some people do reverse psychology because they are manipulative, but yeah, often you just kind of, I've noticed, bounce in the opposite direction, because you see that someone isn't necessarily being authentic about something, for example. So yes, what is also interesting is I do think finding like and like moving through life and finding the contrast in situations and places and people. I said kind of talked about people already, but places as well, because it's really challenging when you're like moving house, for example, and you don't like know where you're going to go, but you always find, I always notice that, and so I've moved houses many times in my life, just because I've lived in short-term lets and stuff, and circumstances have meant that I've had to move for various reasons, and I do find that you like see that, like, even though seasons were really good in one place, or not, as the case may be, really bad in some places, you always end up going back to a place where you feel that you fit in a certain circumstance. But I do think you can fit in a certain circumstance for seasons and with people as well. Sometimes people is like a lesson, blessing, or a lifetime, and if they're a lifetime, you'll hopefully adapt. But sometimes I do think that you can fit into places for seasons until you either learn what you're supposed to learn, let it like runs its course for whatever reason, and then you end up going to a place where you have something else to learn. And it's not always necessary to like, and I don't think it's ever worth actually taking away from places and situations that you learn from, and that you spend time in, because obviously you wouldn't be the person, sorry, just taking the hair off my chin, getting hairier as I get older, but like, yeah, just because you always learn something from it, and that's a great thing. And I think you should, it's always nice to have gratitude for your experiences, even the bad ones, because it helps you see the contrast to the good, and then you don't sort of end up in that same predicament again. Yeah, I do find myself in this constant like anticipation at the moment of like negative circumstances though. I really have some form of like like heavy CPTSD or like PTSD or something, negative experiences, which is really bad because you end up manifesting negative things. But let's hope that that doesn't happen. We'll keep doing our self-work and stuff. And then one other thing as well, because I haven't got like a super long time on my percent battery, but I do think it's also cool to think about self-work and working on yourself, because I think sometimes, like, it depends. again, I know I'm like, I've got a luxury to be able to do this, but I think everyone, no, I think everyone to some extent or another has time, hopefully. Sometimes, not always, it has to be said, especially when you have various circumstances, but you know, you'd hope that some people, especially when you're younger, I think have more of an ability to work on themselves and to find themselves, and I'm lucky to have that time to do that. And you know, I think sometimes when you want to work on, like, to have that time to work on yourself and your like emotional state and your psychological health, and checking in with yourself and like being in your strength and being in your health and being in your well-being and being in your goals and your desires, you know, it's really healthy. You know, because I struggled with this thing about like crossing over to the greed realm from, you know, and the gluttony realm, between sort of being, but I do think things swing back. I think in the past I've maybe neglected myself because of my experiences and because of my relationships, so I think it's only natural to fall into the gluttonous level when you've dealt with that sort of a situation. I suppose people to and fro between gluttony and deprivation to one extent or the other, in either very small capacities or very large capacities, I don't know. I think I'm in my gluttonous era at the moment though. I don't want to seem that way. It's like I'm not aiming for that, but also I think sometimes to have time for yourself and to claim that time and claim that that self-care and stuff for yourself when you could be doing something else. It's really, I'm starting to see the benefits of programming yourself, not only in like a spiritual way and in like a health way, but also in a practical way, because obviously I think it's like 21 days it takes to build a habit, and it's not necessarily, I've definitely seen the other side of this where like you become like robotic and you end up getting guilt and stuff for not doing things in like a perfectionistic way, and I've always tried to avoid that because I swear I was like that when I was at school, which was really horrible. So I went through this very like intuitive era, but it's just like a balance, I think, because I think when you're like, it's just even like tidying up and stuff, and I've done videos about like ADHD and stuff. I probably need to go and get an assessment for that, to be fair, because I'm sure I fall on the spectrum somewhere. But it's even just like programming yourself to clear up and just being like, right, you know, at the end of a certain day, put everything in a bag, you know, put it in the bin, and then you're done, sort of thing. Just programming yourself to do that when you've got like clutter around and stuff, and like tidying up. I do feel like minimalism is the way for people that find themselves messy. I'm definitely a minimalist at the moment, so I'm starting to accumulate more things, but I have to literally keep it like low, the amount of items I have, because they just end up gathering dust and I just don't touch them. So I literally am going to probably just do like another clear out soon, because just excessive items are just so pointless to have, to be fair. I'm saying that I literally bought like 3 items of clothing this morning and they'll probably end up in the charity like very soon, because they're kind of gross and old and used, but I just thought they were like fitting for like my ratchet era. Like, I was literally went for a ratchet era like not too long ago, and I feel like I never really expressed it fully, so I was like, I can wear these clothes in my ratchet era like energy. So some people say I like say like so many random things that they don't understand, but anyway, whether they're just being sarcastic or not, I don't know. I'll watch this back and probably just think, no, you make full sense, but also different people, when they're not the same as you, don't always get you. Do you know what I mean? This is what I'm saying, soul tribe. But anyway, it's interesting to dabble on that kind of thought. So I will sign off and sign out. Thank you for listening.